professor of geology at Colorado.
Okay.
And Adrian is just a twin.
We just found out that I was like, he looks so familiar, and here to come find out, I went to school with his daughter. So small world. So anyways, with that, today's invocation will be offered by Laura. Oh, sorry.
There is a winter in all our lives, a chill and darkness that makes us yearn for days that have gone, or put our hope in the days yet to be. We need a winter in our lives like nature around us, a time of rest, a time to stand still, a time to reacquaint ourselves with how we live. It is only then that we can draw strength from the one in whom we are rooted. Take time to grow and rise through the darkness into the warm glow of springtime. We thank you for today's meal and for the hands that have prepared it. We ask that you be with us all today and every day. And as Rotarians, may we continue living with a focus firmly placed in the four-way test. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Amen. Thank you.
All right. Well, welcome everyone. Hopefully you guys survived that cold weather that we had, and hopefully you didn't have to go out on Friday and could work from home maybe. But today is actually Celebration of Life Day. So what that means is it honors the children and grandchildren who bring joy to our lives. This day is a reminder that each child and each life is to be a precious gift with the highest respect and dignity. As we all know, children grow so quickly and learning new things and changing daily. So this is a reminder to spend time with them and demonstrate care and love they deserve. So over the weekend, I was actually kind of reminded of that. And then my father had to go ahead and put this in as even more of a dagger to my heart. So this was my oldest. This is her, I think, at maybe 1.5 years. And then this is her at her homecoming. So you want to talk about tears. I only got three years left with this girl. So that's a hard one. So I'm cherishing the time I've got with her. So I say that now, right? She is 14.5, 15 almost. So she's still good. I don't want to kill her yet. Now my 12-year-old, that will be a totally different situation. Well, I'll let you know, I'll fill you in when that day comes. So anyways, a couple other things I wanted to share with you. We have some exciting news to share about some Erico and Armando. Not this past weekend, but the weekend before. You can kind of see Erico. It's not a great picture, but Erico, congratulations. Was the only Wooster High School student that got picked to go down and participate in the Ohio State University's high school honors band down in Columbus. So congratulations, that's amazing. And then here's another picture of the whole band. So thank you, Kathy, for the picture. So this is awesome. And then Armando, and congratulations for being on the swim team and the OCC champions, the boys swim and dive team. So here's Armando here for it. So another huge accomplishment for our students as well. So congratulations. And just a reminder, we did send out a list early on. We are going to clean up the list of some activities that they kind of like wish list that they kind of wanted to do while they're here with us. We're going to clean it up, and obviously there's some things that are past time or that they can't do anymore, but we'll send it out. I'll bring it and I'll put it on the tables hopefully maybe next week if we get it done in time. But if you are going around and think that they would like to would enjoy doing whatever that activity is, please don't hesitate to invite them with you to those events, because they don't have much time with us. So as much as we can get them involved in and experience the time that they're here with us, the better. So I will stop talking and turn it over to Secretary Lynn and Secretary's report.
Thank you, President Courtney. Susan Clayton has the traveling microphone, and we will go to Armando and Erico to hear more about the things they've done the past few weeks.
Hi. Yeah, 2 weeks ago, I went to Congress to work in Panama. There are nearly 200 students living here. So my band in Japan has only 40 students. So I feel like the sounds are so big, and I was so glad that I can create a plan with them. Yeah, it was so precious experience. And last week, we have only 2 days of school. That's good week. On Friday, we have snow, and the exchange student from Thai and me and I hung out with friends, and we lied on the snow. And we drink boba tea. And on Saturday, I got dressed for winter fall here. Their dress event here. So I got dressed for winter fall. Yeah, thank you.
So last week was no school, no morning practice. Almost no swimming, was beautiful. This weekend we went snow sledding and I crashed with a tree. It was really fun. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you both. If everybody could turn to the back, look at the back, and you see a silver kind of fairly large plaque right beside the entry. And above that is a smaller plaque. That's probably one of the most important things we have in Wooster Rotary, and let me explain that. That is the plaque that contains the names of our 60-year members, 60-year members. Now, I'm going to read those names. None of them are with us anymore, but you'll recognize names even if you don't know those gentlemen. Ray Dix, Harold Freelander, Bill Lytle, Don Noble Sr., Pete Bogner, and Arden Ramsayer. January 1st, we added one more 60-year member, Ed Eberhardt. Ed sat in what I'll call Scott Allen's table. Now, it used to be Ed's table. And he was a constant here. So we really want to pay tribute to Ed. He no longer can attend, as we know, he's at Westview. So in mid-February, we're going to do a tribute, and we need your help. Katie Kogelman is willing to stay after today and maybe even after the first week in February, that Monday, to do some video tributes. Ron Holtman will also put together some of our memories. So if you have memories of Ed, either professionally or Rotary or personally, we would appreciate that. And then we will do the tribute to him. Just an amazing accomplishment to think that we have 7 60-year members in this club. So thank you for your help. Tom Rumbaugh and I think Phil Mariola have announcements from the podium. Thank you.
Bet you can't guess why I'm here. It's that time of the year again to start assessing the American flags that we put out for the season, which is coming up already. Our first scheduled session is Saturday, February 10th from 9 to 12. And actually, that's our second. Our first one is Wednesday, February 7th from 4 to 6. And we're going to meet out at the same place that we have before. And yeah, it's a very important task that we have. This is our main fundraiser for the group. So yeah, let's get the flags ready to go out this year. And call me if you have any questions. And you should be getting a sign up from Lee King in order to sign up and fill in the available slots. So thank you.
On every table today, there's a little flyer about the upcoming Great Decisions lecture series. Our club has been a sponsor of this for many, many years. It's held at the Golf Recital Hall and Shiny Music Center. The first one's coming right up here on the 30th. If you work in a place of business that has a lot of foot traffic, and I have some larger posters here up there by Secretary Lynn, come on up after the meeting and get them. And also take some of these flyers back to your place of business and put them up. If you need more, there are more up here in front of President Courtney. Thank you.
All right, at this time, I would like to invite Rich Fishburn up to the podium for his classification talk.
Hello, thank you for having me here today. Excuse me. My name is Rich Fishburn, and here's my classification talk. Okay, thank you. So growing up, I was the oldest of 3 brothers. I was born and raised in Wooster, Ohio. Interests include outdoors, hunting, dirt bikes, rode Harleys for a long time. Aviation has always been a big part of my life and one of my hobbies I've enjoyed, and of course, different sports. The family business was also a big part of my life growing up. And I was on the rowdy side, so a lot of people are surprised I made it to where I did. But I'm here now. A couple pictures. Left side, I think it's the coolest Halloween costumes ever. The middle top is my family. My brother, John Fishburn, he works at 180, so some of you may know him. And my youngest brother, Joe. Top right is my grandpa, Gene Bueller. And I was helping him on his mini farm growing up. And then the bottom is riding Harleys, high school after high school. And on the right is Josh Collier, who sadly is no longer with us. But family life, married my wonderful wife, Rachel, 2010. She's a photographer here in Worcester. We have 4 children. James, he's currently in wrestling. He likes football, and he's probably going to do track this spring. Ava is playing basketball. She does volleyball, and then we're going to do softball in the spring. Finley is all into gymnastics. And then Charlotte is all about dance. So we have lots of activities and places we go every single night of the week. We have 4 dogs, 2 cats. We think 9 chickens, but that number changes depending on the hawks and the dogs in the neighborhood. Used to have bees. But unfortunately, they're very hard to keep alive as well. We live in an old farmhouse built in 1861. Which just kind of shows if I'm not with kids or different activities, I'm working on my old farmhouse. Some pictures. Rachel and I in the top left. Family vacation with my brother John. My wife's a photographer, so there's some pictures that she's done that are really nice. And then our 4 dogs. So, just to highlight what we do, what we enjoy. Travel, aviation, I mentioned. I coach all the sports that I understand that I can help my kids. I can't do gymnastics. So DIY home projects, again, old house, so I'm always fixing stuff. We enjoy the outdoors and also homebrew. And I'm just going to highlight aviation because that's my hobby I'm into right now. Some fun pictures with my family, my wife, kids. And the top right, my parents let me come down Florida, fly down there, pick them up, and fly them back. So that was really cool. I think they're crazy they let me, but. Okay, professionally, so I'm the Vice President of Operations at E&H Hardware Group, Ace Hardware. I started professionally 2006 at Bueller's. Worked like all the different departments, a lot of different stores and different departments at Bueller's. And then 2011, I transitioned to focus just on Ace Hardware. I graduated from Kent State with aeronautical studies and a minor in business. And as far as board involvement, I'm on the Worcester Area Chamber of Commerce, as well as a trustee at my church, the Worcester United Methodist Church. So as far as Bueller's goes, so it started in 1929 by Ed and Helen Bueller. So that's the E&H Ace Hardware. Just some highlights: strong service culture, focus on innovation, employee focused, and community focused as well. So 1959 was the first hardware store that was in Orville. And then up to the 2011 point, there were 6 stores within Bueller's, 6 Ace Hardware departments. 2011, we opened our first freestanding store. That was in Independence, Ohio, near Cleveland. And the Bueller family exited the grocery in 2017. And luckily, it is still doing well with Mike Davidson running it and team. So thank you. Couple pictures here. So the one on the top left is an old picture, but Gene Bueller's my grandpa, Christopher and I's grandpa. He's in the middle back. Ed and Helen are in the middle seated. I think that's Don Bueller, top left. And then my mom is Lori Fishburn, in the middle next to Christopher's dad, Scott. On the right is the Orville store. I'm guessing circa 1960 sometime. But it, had a hardware, but had toys, had sporting goods, had a gas station, kind of an innovative idea at the time. Now it's very common. And then we have a couple of our other stores that were attached to a Bueller's. And then now where we're at today, E&H Ace Hardware, owned and operated by the Bueller family, 4th generation. So myself and then Christopher and his brother Jordan work in the business every day. And it's the same family members are on the board. We have 32 stores. We have a plumbing and handyman division here in Worcester, and we're soon to open that in Akron. And we've grown from 6 to 34 stores in 13 years, about over 2 per year. 2022, we went a little wild and had 8 stores that year. So we've since calmed down and we're going to focus on a sustainable growth model. And just to mention, we use EOS, Entrepreneurial Operating System. It's a really cool business management system that's helped us quite a bit. And Independence is the top left. And then some of our other stores that we've opened, Dunn Hardware's in Cleveland, one in, and then obviously you guys should all know the one in Worcester here, bottom right. That is it. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate being here.
All right, thank you. All right, now we are going to have Ray Lively, and he's going to be introducing our speaker today.
It's my pleasure today to introduce to you Paul Davis. I'll have to read this because I can't remember things much anymore. Since his retirement, Paul has enjoyed a variety of volunteer activities. He and his wife, Linda, spent 3 summers as volunteer interpretive rangers at the north rim of Grand Canyon National Park. Locally, they have volunteered at the Wilderness Center, the Cuyahoga Valley National Park, the Northern Ohio Railway Museum, and the Apple Creek Historical Society. Paul's professional career included engineering positions at Rosemont and Analytical in Orville, and Amatec Process and Instrumentation in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Paul's held a lifetime interest in the history of transportation and manufacturing technology and is a member of the Society for Industrial Archaeology, the Baltimore and Ohio Railway Historical Society, Wayne County Historical Society of Ohio, and the Northern Ohio Railway Museum. And of course, through the Wayne County Historical Society is where I first met Paul, and he's been very active in the society. And I would notice on your table perhaps, there are timetables for his topic today, and that is the Southwestern Railway System, which ran from Cleveland to Worcester. We were the southern terminal of the railroad. And you will notice in there the current cost of running from Cleveland to Worcester. I'm sorry to tell you that those prices no longer exist. Neither does the railroad. But would you join me in welcoming Paul Davis?
Thank you very much. No, the first slide is blank.
Oh, okay.
There we go. Okay, now I'm leaving. Thank you. I'd like to share with you today some things about the trolley that did come to Worcester. This was the Cleveland and Southwestern. Sorry. Excuse me. I've studied this railway for quite a while, and it's been quite an enjoyable hobby for me. But I'd like to thank some of the sources I've used in gathering this information. First of all, the Wayne County Historical Society of Ohio, Creston Historical Society, Wayne County Public Library, and the Northern Ohio Railway Museum. First, I have a little commercial. I am a member of the Northern Ohio Railway Museum, and this is a nonprofit organization that was founded in 1965 with the mission statement to collect, preserve, restore, display, and operate streetcars and other railway equipment for the education and entertainment of the public. The museum, many of you may be aware of it. It's north of Seville. A lot of people are not aware of it. It's on Buffum Road. It's about a half hour from here. There are over 40 cars in the collection, some of which operate. In the summer months, from May to September, the museum is open on Saturdays to the public. Every day you can take tours of the site and cars that we have there. And on the second and fourth Saturday of each month, we operate one or two, and hopefully this year a third trolley car for your little ride and enjoyment. The museum also is located, owns about 2 miles of the trolley line, this Cleveland to Southwestern, that came to Worcester. So isn't that a nifty transition into the program? This picture is taken in Preston, and that car is headed toward Worcester. I'm not sure of the date of that, but that was very early in the life of the line. I'm going to discuss the origins, construction, operation, and ultimately the demise of the railroad today, if we have time. But the first car operated on October 7th, 1903, and it was quite a momentous day in Worcester. Now, sometimes there's music that plays here. You'll have to imagine the marching music, a Sousa march, or something like that. Ah. Thank you very much. I caught the end of it there. It was a great day. It was quite a day in the town's history, and I think the best way to describe that is from a newspaper article that was published the afternoon of October 7th in the Wayne County Democrat. It was a beautiful day and a cloudless sky that marked the birthday of a new era in Worcester's commercial activity, with Old Glory flying in the breeze and many a flagpole and window along the line, with the strains of music floating in the breeze, with the clang of bells and the shrill blowing of factory whistles about town. The first passenger car on the Cleveland and Southern Electric Road came down North Market Street into Worcester from Creston and stopped on the public square opposite the courthouse. The first car that made it down at 11:15 that morning had come from Creston. Forget my notes. And it had about 75 people on it, including the Creston band. There were, the cars were adorned with banners and streamers and the banners, there are two large banners on each side. One said Cleveland, Creston, and Worcester. The banner on the other side said Creston Businessmen. So they were extremely excited about what was happening that day. I'm going to go back to the origins a little bit. In the 1890s, there was 80s and 90s, there was a tremendous growth in electrical technology that allowed electricity to be used as motive power on streetcars and so forth. And that was a big boon to the horse car lines in cities. They transitioned to electricity pretty quickly. And following that, interurban lines were started. The line we're talking about started from the Cleveland and Berea Street Railway that had been purchased by some gentlemen in the 90s. And they decided to expand, and they incorporated with some financial help from bankers in Cleveland, the Cleveland, Medina, and Southern Railroad in 1897. These are examples of some of the promotional articles that you might have found in the newspaper of the time leading up to the building of this railroad. The first goal was Worcester, because they saw Worcester as an appealing destination. A lot of the features of the city were quite attractive. At that time, Worcester was pretty sizable. It had a population of about 6,000. Whereas Medina was 2,200 and Berea, where they were coming from, was 2,500. So they saw that there'd be quite a bit of traffic to some of the attractions in Worcester. Chippewa Lake was growing, the university was growing, the agriculture station had moved to Worcester in 1892. At any rate, the agricultural opportunities in the area seemed to be a good source of income to move carry the milk and the produce from Wayne County to Cleveland. In 1902, the railroad did make it to Medina. This is one of the earliest pictures of a car in Medina. There were some right-of-way disputes. It took a while to get built out of Medina. But south of Medina, they made it to Chippewa Lake. This building still stands in Chippewa Lake. You can see it today. It was a substation and station at Chippewa Lake. A little bit south of there, they had a station at Chippewa Lake Park. This picture, I don't know the date of the picture, but obviously people are getting off to enjoy the day in Chippewa Lake. And I might add that in 1923, the Wooster Rotary Club scheduled its first annual summer picnic at Chippewa Lake. I'd like to think that some of your forebears did travel up on the trolley from Worcester to Chippewa Lake. Made it to Creston in April of 1903. And I like this picture because it shows you a contrast of what your transportation options were at that time. The roads were muddy, they were ruddy, you had to horse up the horse and buggy if you wanted to go, and you couldn't go very far. The interurban allowed people to start having trips to the north, to Cleveland, all the way to Cleveland for cultural activities, for shopping, a lot of interchange from one town to the other. And people in the county started to see the benefits of travel by trolley. And we see here in Creston again, the newsboys obviously were getting the latest edition of probably the Plain Dealer, the Cleveland Press, whatever, and they were able to distribute those. So it helped people get information quicker and probably helped the Plain Dealer and the Cleveland Press as well, increased their circulation. Coming south from Creston, the line followed the Cleveland Road, Route 3, CCC Highway. It was on the east side of the road. And here's today's picture and a picture of about 1910. And it gives you an idea of the proximity of the interurban track to the house. There were some that were very close. This house, of course, still stands there at Fox Lake Road. I don't know if you can see it in this picture or not, but on the pole above that gentleman, the conductor that's at the car there, there's a sign that says stop 119. every crossroad, all the way from Cleveland to Worcester, had a sign or a stop number assigned to it. This was 119, and that was used more like an address than anything else, that people advertising in the local papers would say, you know, we live 1 mile east of stop 119. And so farmers that wanted to sell produce or sell their stock or auction, they would identify the location that way to get people to come to their location. Coming south to Madisonburg, this is the Madisonburg station, the substation and the station. It still exists. A lot of people wonder why buildings of this substantial size were built what was essentially a field out in the middle of nowhere. Chippewa Lake, of course, was a legitimate station at that time. This is a mile north of Madisonburg. Why would you build a station like that? Well, the technology required, the car itself required 600 volts DC for operation. And to transmit that power over a long distance, you wanted to transmit it by AC. And the power plant for the line was in Elyria, and they used high voltage AC to along the line. And there was equipment in these buildings that would convert that high voltage AC down to the 600 volts DC that was used to operate the cars. That building still exists. This is a recent picture of it. It has since been turned into apartments. But one of the interesting features of that building that still lasts is up on the front, the upper facade of the building are the letters CSWT, which were in there at the time it was built. And it was their advertising sign for the name of the line at that time, which was the Cleveland Southwestern Traction Company. Now, coming into Worcester, when they were building the line, there was a bit of a challenge. Excuse me. If they would follow Cleveland Road, and I don't think I have the ability to point, but Cleveland Road coming down from Madisonburg goes into the valley of the Little Apple Creek. And so there was quite a grade there to come down and come up. The lowest part there is around where Milltown Road crosses. Doesn't look like much of a grade now, but it was a challenge back in 1903. The railroad wanted to build over on to Burbank Road. They wanted to go southwest from Madisonburg and come down Burbank Road, which would be fairly level. Unfortunately, that was highly profitable land for the owners, and they didn't really want to have their fields split by railroad right-of-way. So sort of a compromise was reached, and the line was essentially built on this red line that you see here. But that required them to do some significant earthwork and grading. And at one place, they had to have install a trestle, about 200 feet long by my estimation. And there were also several places where they had to do cut and fill. You can see remnants of that today. Here's the foundation of that trestle, stone and cement work. It's still there. If you feel like trespassing and tromping through the briars and brambles, you can go back there and see that. I don't recommend trespassing. I didn't get caught. And one of the remaining fills is very noticeable at Friedlander Park. The bank of the pond there is actually the right-of-way of the streetcar line. Coming southward from there, I found this picture from 1945, an aerial picture of Worcester, and you can see remnants of the right-of-way coming straight from the north there down to the intersection of Cleveland Road and Bell Avenue, where the line went back onto Cleveland Road to come on down to into town. There was a little S curve at where it came from Cleveland Road across to Quinby Avenue. There's again the old picture and the new. You can see how it went in both views. Now, the rest of the pictures that I have here coming into town are postcard views. This is viewing northward on North Market Street. I think you can recognize some of the structures that are still there, the two churches on the right side especially. See just the corner of the old Carnegie Library, and I guess the Baptist Church. Now here, this track work in the Wooster Square was a Y that the company had to build. Since Wooster ended up being a terminal line, they had to have a way to reverse the cars. And so they put what was known as a Y in there to make a 3-point turn, essentially, so the cars would be facing the right direction to go back to make their trip northward. Farther west from there, the company built a car barn at the corner of Liberty and Grant Street. This would give the cars some protection overnight. It also was a spot where they could do some cleaning of the cars when they came in, and if there were some minor repairs. You can notice there's inspection and work pits between the rails, and back in the corner you can see a little bit of a workshop. They didn't do any heavy work, but if something needed to be fixed, they could do a little bit of work there, and it protected the cars overnight. So Worcester the line didn't go any farther than Worcester, but they did eventually get to their line from Columbus to Columbus through the line that they built from Seville that went through Lodi, West Salem, Ashland, down to Mansfield and on over to Bucyrus, where they would connect up with another interurban, Columbus, Delaware, and Marion that eventually got to Bucyrus. You'd have to change cars, but you could get to, in fact, you could get all the way to Cincinnati by electric interurban if you wanted to change cars several times. Not the most efficient way, but it could be done. Now, what was it like? What was it like to have a trolley car in Worcester? Well, one of the first things the company did was they instituted a baseball league, the Trolley League. This isn't one of the teams, but some of these players in this picture undoubtedly played for the Worcester Trolley. I think they were called different names and from time to time, but I think the Giants was the name of the ball club for Worcester. And the towns along the line all were, the company organized baseball teams in Elyria, Norwalk, Oberlin, all the lines that the Southwestern served. And the deal was that the teams could travel for free, but they expected the fans to pay the fare. They thought that would make money for the line, and it did. The league was active for several years. You notice one of the star players for a couple of years there was Charles Follis, that also played for Worcester High School and Worcester University. He's featured in this picture here. I'd like to point out a little bit of what it was like in 1912. This is a little rate card that and timetable that people could carry in their pocket. At that time, you could get to Cleveland for $1.10. 30 cents would get you to Creston. Round trips were slightly less than double those amounts. But a couple of things on this card that I found notable. One was the beautiful restroom that they built in the basement of the courthouse. This was called a miniature palace in the paper, that it had all the latest fixtures. It was very shiny. And I have some dim recollection of that room still being there, but it's not a palace at the time that I heard about it. But they had a newsstand there where people could, while they're waiting for the cars, they could have a little light snack. They could get a cigar, maybe some candy, maybe a light lunch, I don't know. But the commissioners and the railroad came to an agreement of building the restroom in the courthouse basement. The patrons of the railroad were happy to get that, because otherwise they would stand out in the street in inclement weather. So it was pretty nice at the time. Another thing to point out here is the express package service that the company offered. There were 2 trains a day that were just freight trains, a freight car that would pick up less than carload freight along the line. They shipped a lot of milk from the farms, dairy farms, a lot of produce and other items that businessmen would need to ship back and forth. They were part of a consortium of the 5 interurban companies that radiated from Cleveland. Then there was a central freight station in downtown Cleveland where the Guardians play baseball now. It's on 9th Street. But this is an example of the car that would have been used to transport freight. Here's a typical passenger car from the day. The cars were bright green, a beautiful green color, and with gold lettering and trim, and the line became known as the Green Line. Colloquially, they never took that name themselves, but that's how people referred to it. Even the promotional literature used green ink to continue that tradition, indication. This was pages from that promotional pamphlet. But this picture is 1927, but by mid-20s, things were not so good. After the First World War, with the advancement in automobiles and good roads committees throughout the nation, made it easier to get around an automobile. You can see in this picture of downtown Worcester the number of cars that were already there in 1927. So the company tried to counteract that. They converted some cars to parlor cars that were somewhat more comfortable. They had more limited service, and a couple trains a day would make it to Cleveland in a shorter amount of time. But this column from the newspaper kind of tells the story. While they were advertising their parlor cars, the 7 bus lines that were serving Worcester at that time had their timetables there. So the competition was very stiff. Additionally, at that time, a lot of the franchises that the companies had negotiated back in the teens, first decade of the century, were coming due, and there had been deferred maintenance, and the tracks weren't the best things to have in the streets, and a lot of the towns wanted improvement. But unfortunately, the company had no money. They couldn't do that, so they requested permission to abandon. And the sad news finally came in January of 1931. And I'd like to end here with a poem or two. Here's the last car from Worcester. The February 28th edition of the Cleveland Plain Dealer had an article about the demise of the Green Line, and it ended with a poem, a brief poem. It said, "Oh, the trucks and buses and the automobiles have killed the merry rumble of the Green Line wheels. They grabbed up her fares, on their freight they fed. Shed a tear, old settler, the Green Line is dead." But I'd like to go back to a little happier time. And I think I have time to read this little poem that was written by H.W. Scott, I think was his name. He was the editor of the Preston Journal. And at that time, he was so impressed with this, his civic pride was exceeded only by his appetite. So I'd like to share the poem that he wrote after that first day in October 7th, 1903. It's called All Aboard for Worcester. All aboard for the county seat was the warning cry of the conductor neat. With a hurry and scurry, a shrill wild blast, we were off for the town of the breeders at last. With a creak and a groan, a whir and a whistle, we were floating along like the down of the thistle. The music of horn, the sound of the drum blended well with the motorman's hum. Not a care or a sorrow did we have or borrow, but flung dull care to the winds of the morrow. Whether teacher or lawyer, preacher or sinner, our ride was free, with a good free dinner. As we landed in Worcester amidst the flags and the cheers, our hearts swelled within us, our eyes filled with tears. For with brains and hard labor, with toil and with blisters, our towns had been made the twinnest of sisters. We followed our band as becometh a marcher, and soon halted before the hospitable archer. With a rush and a push, just as we were able, not a seat was there vacant at the well-laid table. Godspeed the parting guest, a shake and a grip, all aboard at last for our homeward trip. Not a break nor hurt to mar all the fun, only at last receive a free dinner done. And with that, I would like to end, and I'd like to thank you for the free dinner that I had here today. I'd be happy to answer any questions in the few minutes that we have left.
Thank you. That was wonderful. There's another famous line that runs through Wake County, and I wonder if you have any news that it came back into proposal again, and that's the CCC Cleveland, Columbus to Cincinnati going through Orville. Do you have any information on that?
I've not heard specifically about Orville. I know that frequently that comes into the news to reestablish a high-speed rail service from diagonally across the state. I'm not aware that Orville was a plan for that, but I'm sure that they're looking at all sorts of options and routes.
I remember as a young boy in streetcars, they had those devices above the cars that went up to electric wires.
Mm-hmm.
How did the electricity actually get into the car? I was kind of curious.
Well, there was a heavy-duty, thick wire suspended over the center of the track. And there was the word trolley, a troller came from that there was a spring-loaded, on the interurban cars, generally, there was a spring-loaded pole mounted on top of the car that would remain in contact with the overhead wire. There was generally a wheel, sometimes a slider that would connect to that. That was one side of the circuit, and the return electric current was through the ground through the steel rails. But as I said, the power transmission needs to be done at a higher voltage and alternating current, and that is the way. Well, today, in modern days, a lot of trolley streetcars and so forth do use alternating current directly. But back in the day, there was need for these stations, such as the one at Madisonburg and Chippewa Lake, where they had rotating machinery that would convert and transformers that would convert the AC down to a 600 volt DC. And for instance, the Rapid in Cleveland, and I think those cars, they have a different method of collecting the power. They use what's known as a pantograph. That's a spring-loaded device that keeps tension up against the wire, and it doesn't have a wheel, that it connects to the overhead wire that way. There were other methods of getting power to the car, but those are the two common ones.
Paul, thank you. That's what I was.
Pardon me?
You can consider the title of this talk, EVs, celebrating the history of modern innovation. Just about. So I do have a question. You spoke of the Ohio Railway Museum.
Mm-hmm.
Was that originally in Worthington on Proprietors Road?
No, that's a separate museum. It was one of the very earliest ones. Ohio Railway Museum in Worthington there was founded in 47 or 48. And they have a combination, their collection is a combination. They emphasized the steam engine that they had there for a while, but they do have a short run of trolley line, the remainder of the Cleveland or Columbus, Delaware, and Marion interurban line, and they can ride a trolley there as well. But this one is separate. This was, it's like I said, in Seville, pardon me, north of Seville. That's where I spend a lot of my time in the summertime, nice weather working up there. Incidentally, I would encourage everybody to go there this summer and take a trolley ride. It is a lot of fun. And even further, if you got any time on your hands, you could volunteer and help us with some of the work we're doing up there. But yeah, it's a separate museum.
Thank you.
I heard a story that after the interurban folded, someone bought the right of way of Route 3 and then denied access to the fields and houses and to the people who owned the land, paid them. Do you know if that story is true?
I do not know if that story is true. I know when I came to Worcester in 1977, and I remember at that time, there was still quite a bit of structure left along Cleveland Road. And there, you can still see one spot that I know of where there's an embankment there. But I can actually remember an arched culvert there. And I think the farmer got through to his fields by going through that culvert. But I never heard that there was any blockage keeping people off of I don't doubt it, but I don't know, have any personal knowledge of that.
Thank you. Perfect. Paul, in appreciation of your time with us today, we'd like to present you with this rendition of the Rotary Wheel with the four-way test on the back. This is made locally by students at the Village Network. So thank you so much. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Yes, thank you, thank you. Oh, right. So a couple announcements. Just remember, next week we are not meeting here. We are going to the Buckeye Agricultural Museum, which is right across from the fairgrounds, the one building with the silo on it. We're going to have 2 times, 11:45. There will be lunch, and it is our program. So there's going to be tours offered. 11:45 and 12:15. Alphabet, remember alphabet if you weren't here last week. A through L, we're asking you come at 11:45. M through Z come at 12:15. If you cannot, it's fine. I promise we won't kick you out. But we're just the room isn't huge, so we're trying to just make it easier to decide what time. If you have a lot of time on your hands, you can come whenever. We're just saying, okay, if this is your name, your last name, come during this time. So 11:45 or 12:15, eat and tour. Okay, and then also, if you can stick around afterwards and meet Katie over here by the piano to give a little bit of a tribute or any kind of memories for Ed after this meeting. And with that, we stand adjourned. Thank you.